visit an abattoir or a slaughterhouse and you will be referring to a place where meat, a source of protein, is prepared before it becomes available in the market for you and me to buy and eventually consume. The hygiene of such a place should be given priority, don't you think? Well, Channels Television certainly thinks it should, which is why this episode of Special Report would be calling attention to some activities at the slaughterhouses, the dangers that some illegal activities there pose to the health of Nigerians, and what the government is doing and should be doing to correct the anomalies. You're welcome. I'm Ini John Mekwa. A wet day in Lagos. But the members of the Monitoring, Enforcement and Compliance of the Ministry of Agriculture have been tipped of illegal slaughtering at this obscure location in Sura area of Lagos Island. It's an operation that has to be carried out very early in the morning to meet up with the period when the animals are slaughtered. And even though the team has missed the slaughtering, the freshly killed animals, in this case goats and sheep, are on display. The butchers are on hand, presumably awaiting their customers. Unfortunately for them, the day will not go as they planned, because instead they are faced by officers of the Lagos State Task Force working with the Monitoring, Enforcement and Compliance team. There's a high level of uncleanliness in the area, sewage flowing openly and also serving as a dump site for human and animal waste. From the entrance into the location, the stench is easily perceived. The containers which they use in processing the meat could have been treated better. Blood littered the floor and the source of water used here uncertain. These factors seem clear to them as they obey the instructions of the officers and are apprehended. Their products are also taken away. And to discourage their return, their working instruments and tables are broken. This is one of the efforts of the Lagos State government towards clean and healthy meats for residents, tagged Meat Reform. While the defaulters are charged to court, their seized goods become a kind of blessing to the needy. Bab Es-Salam Home, an orphanage in Ikeja area of the state, catering for about 50 children, receives the gift with pleasure.
It will go a long way in alleviating the problem of, the children in the home. Being, Bab Es-Salam being one of the government-approved orphanages in the, in the state, so we have a lot of children in the home that we cater for. So I think this can go a long way in solving some of our food problems.
The practice of seizing meat from illegal abattoirs is not new in the state, according to the Acting Commissioner of Agriculture, Abisola Odusoya. She explains that there's been enlightenment and the government is now out for enforcement.
These people slaughtering these cattle at these illegal slabs, they are butchers. And that is why we have the Butchers Association of Nigeria, and then we all have the Lagos State chapter. In Lagos State alone, we have over 20,000 butchers in this association. And each location has their own Butchers Association. So there is no area within Lagos where you don't have a Butchers Association. So they know one another and they know the right things to do. Now, before we even came back with this Monitoring, Enforcement and Compliance Task Force to sweep and mop up all these illegal slabs, it was the same Butchers Association that had sat with us with the Concessionaires Forum for the Red Meat Value Chain to say we need the MEC team back in full swing to ensure that illegal slaughter slabs are shut down, because that is the only way we can have maximization of our approved slaughter slabs. And that is also the best way to be able to ascertain the meats or the cattle that are being slaughtered, whether they are veterinary certified or not. A lot of these illegal slaughter slabs, you don't have vet doctors there to ascertain that the cattle that is being slaughtered is not diseased. So you run the risk of killing diseased animals and selling to the public. And then the public also having different kinds of diseases, and we wonder where these diseases are springing up from, which is why I go back to COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic, or the virus as it is, it started in Wuhan, China, in a wet market where they're selling meat. And if you also have illegal slabs, people's backyards where they are slaughtering meat and there's no vet doctor to certify, then what are we doing? We are killing ourselves, all in the name of, oh, it is the way they earn their daily income. It's just like you saying, oh, why can't NAFDAC approve for everybody to own a chemist, regardless of the fact whether those drugs are certified for good consumption or not? Then we might as well just let anyone run a chemist or a pharmacy and say, oh, after all, they are also earning their daily living. So we cannot keep using this kind of excuses to augment or to legalize something that is illegal. There are standards, there are procedures to having a slaughter slab or an abattoir. So long as you are within the confines of that policy, of that law, nobody will come near you. But if you are doing it in an illegal manner, then you don't expect us to legalize it, all in the name of, oh, that is the way you earn your living, or that is the way you see it fit to, you know, operate your business. Now, what we had done as a ministry was to put together the ATM strategy around the red meat value chain. ATM, A standing for the abattoir, T for transport, and M for market. Meaning, for these three areas within the red meat value chain, what can we do to ensure that at the end of the day we have a sanitized value chain system, to ensure that the Lagosian gets a good quality meat at good pricing, and with the stakeholders also being able to maximize the benefits of the business they do within that chain. So one leg of it is the abattoir, which is where the monitoring, enforcement, and compliance comes in to ensure that illegal slaughter slabs are shut down. Then the next stage within that bucket is to ensure that even the slaughter slabs that are government approved, are they also following procedure? Are they also following standards? If you go to some of our approved slaughter slabs, they are also contravening the law. And we are doing everything possible to ensure that they begin to change the system. I'm sure if you have seen in the papers or in a couple of weeks back, we've been to the abattoir ourselves to say, concessionaires, you here, you are not supposed to slaughter this way. You should have the mechanized and semi-mechanized lines running full swing to ensure that everyone who wants to slaughter are using these lines for slaughtering and no more slaughtering on the floor. Now, the excuse is the mechanized and semi-mechanized lines, they are not enough to take all the cattle that will be slaughtered per day. At Okoba Abattoir, in a day, for instance, they slaughter over 1,000 heads of cattle. The semi-mechanized and mechanized lines cannot take that capacity, meaning they are still slaughtering on the slab, which is why the concessionaires have now also made available trolleys, meaning instead of slaughtering on the slab, you slaughter on a trolley, such that the meat is not touching the floor. Now, does it mean they are still not slaughtering on the slab? It's happening, but we are making sure that we are phasing it. You cannot do this because it's unacceptable. Yes, we understand that in terms of capacity, the mechanized and semi-mechanized lines, we don't have it. But there's a time frame within which you must stop that. So all of these things, they are in step by step and in phases to ensure that we stop slaughtering on the slab. Now, we have vet doctors stationed at those abattoirs for a maximum number of hours per day, from the time of slaughtering till all the meats are out of the abattoir plate. But what it means is, at least in these abattoirs, the meat or the cattle, they are certified before they are killed, and they are certified after slaughtering also. So in a way, you still have some things going right within the system. But like you said, now I'll use the word cleansing. Within our own abattoirs, we are trying to cleanse the system to say this is the right way in which meat should be slaughtered. This is the right way in which meat should also be transported, which is where you have the eco meat van. And then this is the right way the meat should also be marketed, which is where you should have a Teflon table, you should have the covered tabletops, you don't have flies. And then with time also, we should be able to get our butchers to start selling meat by weight, as opposed to you having to touch the meat and then just holding the meat and saying, oh, how much is this, how much is that? In other countries, Ghana, for instance, you don't touch meat. You buy meat by weight. 1 kilo, 10 cedis. Boneless, 12 cedis. You know, and that is how it is in other developed countries as well, which is what we would like to do here, such that at the end of the day, every stakeholder within the value chain makes good profit, and then the consumer also is eating good food, good meat, hygienic, quality, and I mean, everybody is happy at the end of the day.
The hazard of improper operations of abattoirs does not just affect the meat. At Mokeo Yeledun Close on Agriculture Road, which shares a fence with Okoba Abattoir, houses are emptying out. We're told that tenants hardly renew their rental, and some homeowners have stalled building projects. Channels Television had reported the story before now, and the government had promised that the use of tires to skin the animals has been put to an end. However, Mr. Ayodeji Adeosun, a resident in the estate, thinks otherwise.
One of the major problems we residents face here in this estate is that, on a daily basis, there's a heavy smoke coming from the abattoir that poses a lot of dangerous health hazard to people living in this area. As you can see, anybody that comes to this estate, by the time you could have exceeded your initial annual rent, you will not be left with option than to vacate because of the health hazard we are facing in this estate. Because the air we're breathing is polluted due to the smoke coming from the abattoir. There was a time, because according to what some people that left here, I think they have been engaged, but they keep on promising that the issue of burning tire that generated this heavy smoke, Iyosami, will be totally stopped. But even from what you are seeing now, Iyosami is getting unbearable.
Dealing with waste from slaughterhouses has been one of the challenges facing its operations. Waste includes condemned organs, carcasses, blood, hides, horns, hooves, hair, and others have been traced as the source of stench and filth, which makes meat unhealthy. The wastewater emanating from the abattoirs pollutes surface and underground water as well as the air.
Animals that do not really have the necessary veterinary certification can have their lungs and other part of the body infested with even tuberculosis. The lungs of the animals, the other part of the animals can be infested with tuberculosis, number one. Number two, when the skin is being poorly treated or is burnt and, like I mentioned to you, they might not use firewood, they might be using rubber and the like, peptic ulcer is possible, ulcer disease, apart from the extreme, which I mentioned, cancer. Heartburns is there, ulcer is there, and besides, other toxic materials are there that can cause pneumonia, that can cause cough, that can even also cause infection to the intestine, so to say. And outside of this also, don't also forget, when the meat you want to take is already contaminated at the point of processing, typhoid fever is common, cholera is common, and apart from this, even worm infestation is common from poorly treated meat. Most of our abattoirs do not operate or obey social distancing. They hardly will use face mask, and neither can anybody control their cough syndrome or their sneezing syndrome when you get to the typical slaughter slab. And so if social distancing is not there, if face masking is not there, if sneezing and coughing are not controlled, if population is there that are not controlled, and if meat is being processed under poor hygiene, who says even if the COVID virus, for example, is not extracted from the cow meat, are we not also saying that at least if a sufferer is there, coughing, sneezing, poor hygiene, no social distancing, and anyhow treatment of the meat you want to take, anything can happen. Even if the veterinary doctors are not enough, the environmental sanitation officers will be able to do some work. And in fact, people slaughter, in some slaughter slab, they slaughter 10, 20, some 30, 40 in a day. And even you might be surprised, no single veterinary doctor to oversee what they are doing. So I think we need to probably train people who will do what I can call task shifting and task sharing, to be able to take up some responsibilities, giving minimal training of what to observe and what to look for. And in fact, even public health nurses can be enlisted to do part of this job. And in fact, community health officers can be enlisted to do this job. So it's not all the time we should be looking for specialists. There are people who just have to look at simple hygiene, simple things you need to put in place. You forgot the Wole syndrome of those days. Our sanitation officers, they are still around and they can do wonderful job if they are so motivated. Some of them complain, no vehicle to use, the logistics of getting to the slab and the slaughter area, the number should be being short-staffed, and ill-motivated ones and things like that. And I think we need to go around again, reevaluate what we are doing, because when these things that look like the principles of primary health care are not taken care of, eventually turn to secondary health challenges, and from there to tertiary health challenges.
Mrs. Oladuni Otitoju runs a slaughter slab in Lekki area of Lagos State and seems to have found a solution to the skinning challenge. She affirms that it's not been easy doing this business the right way, as equipment to automate the process line has not been readily available.
When I started, we noticed that people were using all forms of using tires to burn animals, and I'm like, no, this is not the way I want it. And that took us over 6 months of research work to Ibadan, University of Ibadan precisely, and that was how we got the smoking system, which we had to pay for, and we got somebody who's been doing it for us ever since then. I must say it has to do with the will, power, and then of course encouragement from government and all. But if you have the will, you want to do things right, it's difficult because it's not the normal, the way, the general way. But if you have the willpower, you will do it. It's a bit expensive, you know, it is. It's not cheap, I must say. But gradually, you will get there if you have the willpower. At every level of our processing of meat here, we have it automated. So, and that is from the way we, you know, process, as in smoking it, to when we cut it, and then of course we package also. That is putting it, you know, packaging it for our customers who come here and buy from us direct. The Ministry of Environment was here and they gave us the environment impact assessment. So with that, we met the Ministry of Agric, and so the documents are with the Ministry of Agric, which is in the process. So I'm looking at government supporting in terms of looking at, you know, encouraging, talking to, creating awareness first and foremost, and then letting people know that, hey, this is the right way to do it. And I'm sure if there is that awareness, then more and more people would comply. And I'm thinking that government can also encourage people, you know, to do it right, and they will follow.
Mrs. Otitoju also complains of delay in government processes to get approval and calls for a cut down in the bottleneck as a way to encourage more operators to collaborate with the government. The Acting Commissioner of Agriculture, however, assures that the process has been simplified.
It depends on where you want to play. Are you coming in as a butcher, or you want to come in as a concessionaire, or you want to come in as someone who owns a slaughter line, to say, yes, people can bring their meat to your facility to slaughter. Now, if it is that you want to own a facility, like I said, we have the meat policy law, even as far back as 1978, which has actually been looked at again. And obviously, there are a few changes here and there, but by and large, it's still sacrosanct, because in terms of how the line should be placed, in terms of the location of where an abattoir should be, there are so many things around it, because these are things that have to do with blood, pathogens, and all of that. So it shouldn't even be around a residential area, for instance. So there are things that have to be put in place. Now, if you come to us as a ministry to say you want to own a slaughter line, or you want to have a mechanized line, or what have you, like we said, we would also meet in conjunction with physical planning and urban design to ensure that, okay, where you want to locate your abattoir, it is okay, it is along the lines of the master plan, it is acceptable. And then from there, in terms of how you design it, obviously the ministry staff, we have the veterinary services department, they will work hand in hand with you to ensure that, okay, in terms of the design, it is functional and it is how it should be. And then with regards to how you get your vet doctors, for you to obviously get an approved abattoir, it means we would have to second our vet doctors to you. Obviously, you have to pay a fee for that because now you're the private sector and you're trying to run your business. These private abattoirs, they don't slaughter every day. So obviously they have a roster, they have a schedule which they share with the ministry, with the Department of Veterinary Services, and then the vet doctors we have, they move in on those days that those private abattoirs will slaughter, and they certify that the cattle to be slaughtered are fit, and then the process continues. So in terms of you coming in as a private sector participant to say you want to play in this field, it's simple. It's just that keep within the confines of the law, of the policy, and then I don't think it's difficult.
In Anambra State, in southeastern part of the country, the operators of quarter meat markets claim that they follow laid-down protocols to ensure that their products are not harmful to consumers. Quarter Abattoir is in a central location in Awka, the state capital, and so customers come from several communities within the state capital and from Ho as well as Onitsha, and they find it easy to make their purchases here. According to the chairman of the Butchers Association in the abattoir market, it opens as early as 7 a.m. with inspection of the cows to be slaughtered by the veterinary doctors. The abattoir has sections that include the pond section where washing of meat takes place, the heated area where the hide is processed through burning to remove the hair, as well as the selling point under the makeshift stalls. The butchers are seen using bamboo to generate fire to burn the hide.
Normally, as government need it.
They, however, lament that the government has not done much to complement their efforts and the revenue they generate for the state. Their needs, they say, include a proper drainage facility for easy disposal of wastes.
This house and this water is only two things government do for us here. And this house, we are the one Obi Butchers build it with our money. Before we kick out, we have an veterinary, we have an emala. We will come very early and check the type of cow, the type of goat, the type of people. That is why we are wearing this face mark. Because we know something is in the Nigeria now.
This is our Awka market, especially this butcher's place. All the whole land is too dirty because we are doing our own capacity to do the press to be normal, but there is no money to continue the job. So that we need government to help us, especially to do gutter for this very press, so that if rain fall, it will push the whole blood and the sheet go down.
The abattoir environment no doubt needs to be fixed, as well as other challenges mentioned by the butchers. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Vincent Okwala, notes the complaints of the butchers and discloses that the state is coming up with a modern abattoir that would be a model for new slaughterhouses that will spring up in urban cities.
We try to establish something at Amansi side sector. So if you go down there, you see there's a project that they did with our UNDP, and work is in place to make sure that that place works in the next few months. Okay, that place is a very clean area. You notice that there is a large area, has a very good area for cleaning the meat and processing the meat. You know, with renewable energy, and then very clean area for washing the meat and preparing the meat. So by the time that is done, you know that what you are consuming is clean and healthy. Also, in that area, you have conveniences for the individuals working in the area. The other plan is to also make sure that we have a larriage in the area. So you have a larriage and an abattoir. The animal comes in, rested, and the animal will be inspected by the veterinarians, and then the health officers will come around and inspect the animal during the slaughter process and make sure that the animal is healthy. And then the environmentalists will make sure that the effluents from that area, the waste products that are produced, are disposed of in a good manner.
While the butchers in Quarter Market await the advanced abattoir to come to being, they maintain that the earlier the government supports them, the better for the economy of the state and the easier it would be to produce safe meat. Outside Anambra State, challenges facing the sector include dilapidated slaughtering houses and processing facilities, inadequate clean water supplies, lack of refrigerators, and lack of facilities for the collection and storage of waste. I guess it's time to be more conscious of the hygiene of the meat that ends up in our pot and eventually in our body system. Do you have an opinion or question about that? Please reach out to us through our various platforms. Thank you for watching. I'm Ini John Mekwa.